All right. Episode 29 of the Heart of the Order, recording in the morning. All three of us are still waking up. It's 6:43 a.m. on Thursday, September 24th. Boys, I'm sorry to have to wake you up this early in the morning. You guys doing all right?
It's
I'm just going
okay.
to be a little bit less talkative.
Even me.
I,
Do
I still need like an inspired Dre rant at some point. I don't know. Is that a possibility?
we'll see when the sun comes up, I'm just right now I'm just sipping my coffee and trying to get there on the Kevin Correa episode.
So it's probably
Nice.
we'll see towards the end of the episode as after the coffee kicks in, after the caffeine kicks in.
Yeah, and this will only be cup one. I got a long day ahead of me, but that's okay.
There you
I'm
go.
here. I'm ready to get it started here on Heart of the Order.
There you go.
Before we get started, I do want to say Ryan Botash, microwaving Pop-Tarts is weird.
I'm honestly
Take that L.
like we've been. I feel like I've had like 2 or 3 conversations about this thing, that topic, microwaving Pop-Tarts. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either, and I'm really interested about it, but I'm not so interested that like if I don't like it, it'll ruin my Pop-Tarts.
Do you like? So I don't know if this is weird, but I don't toast my Pop-Tarts.
That's not weird.
Okay, all right.
That's okay. I don't know.
Yeah. I've never toasted my Pop-Tarts. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's not worth the risk.
But like microwaving.
In my experiences, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Or microwaving it.
I don't understand microwaving.
Does he not have a toaster oven or a toaster?
I don't know. I guess he's been doing it since he was a kid or something.
Use a blowtorch. Use anything, not a microwave.
Open flame. It's 2020. You could maybe use an air fryer.
Maybe that might.
That would be.
All I notice is that microwave Pop-Tart just doesn't sound like the wave.
The game of Joneses took a big L.
Yeah, big L. I'm pouring it on since it's week 3 now, and I get Ben this week. So
hey, you're talking to the league's high scorer here, Dre. So just relax, all right? Just relax. All right, guys. So we're getting towards the end of the season. We have about, I think it's a little less than a week left in the year. No, 3 days. So the baseball season ends, or the regular season ends Friday. So we got about 3 more games. Teams are finishing up their final homestands. I think the Pirates played their last home game last night. So even though we haven't been able to get into the stadium at PNC Park, we won't see the lights on. We won't see games being played in Pittsburgh anymore this season. So the playoff picture is forming. Just kind of what do you think about the playoff field so far, guys, and kind of how it's solidified the teams that have gotten in and things like that?
I think, and we talked about it briefly last week, but it's interesting. It's an early word for 6:45, but a dichotomy between like the 2 leagues. Whoa. Where you have the AL, where it's just you have the AL and it's like the pure. Don't ask me to spell it. Where it's the pure, like, no real, outside of the Blue Jays, surprises there. And I think they're even in, like, this moment in time, the 8th spot, I think they're pretty much solidified there.
Yep.
Like, the top 7 teams are pretty much the ones that we really thought. And, the one that isn't a perennial performer in the AL the last few years was the White Sox, and they had all this hype leading into it that they fulfilled. So it's interesting in that league where it's like, oh, no real surprises. And then you go to the NL, where in the same way you have the Padres, who, like, in my opinion, exceeded their hype. And then as where it stands now, you have the Marlins and the Giants making the playoffs, where, like, those 2 teams, like, where we were speaking about them in the beginning of the season, were right around where we had the Pirates. So like it's interesting where the one is very much chalk and the other one is a little bit more chaos, but it'll be interesting to see those teams in some playoff series. And I think where it stands now, and this is just like a lot can change in the next 3 days, and especially like it's going to change by the time that this episode's posted.
Yeah.
But like as of now, you have like some intriguing matchups of like teams that are getting hot at the right time, like the Reds, right as it sits now, are the 8 seed going against the Dodgers. So like seeing the Reds pitching staff that like Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray, they've just been like hot going against these guys. Like that's intriguing. And you have a duel now in the AL where for most of the season, or at least the last few weeks, the White Sox have been winning the division. But now the Twins are making a move because they're realizing that the Twins are sitting at the 4 seed. And whoever doesn't win that division, the AL Central, is going to have to play against the Yankees. And it's in the stars that the Twins will always play the Yankees. So they're trying their best to get out of it. So it's either going to be a first-round matchup between the Twins and the Yankees or the White Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah,
An interesting playoff picture we have.
Yeah, right now the White Sox and the Yankees are set to play each other in the first round as the 4 and the 5 seed. And the Twins would get the Astros and the Athletics. I mean, guys, we've talked about the Athletics so many times in terms of like I think we've said it multiple times where you never know what the Athletics are going to do, and then all of a sudden they just come out of nowhere, and there's this team that are contending for a playoff spot. But right now they're listed as the number 2 seed in the AL East or the AL playoffs. I mean, Dre, what is it about the Athletics that every year the playoff comes around, they're just in it somehow? They're just in the mix. They're a team that no one saw coming, and they're just there.
Billy Bean.
Billy Bean.
He's the best GM in baseball, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, he has a freaking movie named after him in Moneyball. But outside of that, I mean, he puts his team together, and every single year they are one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, and they always defy the odds. It's insane to me that this team, in the way baseball is in terms of buying free agents and things like that, they're just there. But again, that's a testament to the organizational, I guess, depth that they have in terms of farm system, in terms of scouting, in terms of contract management, things like that. It starts in the front office, and that's how it's able to get done. But then on the field, you look at these guys that are out there, and these guys, I mean, they're not freaking bums either. Like Matt Chapman's, if not the best third baseman in baseball. I mean, he's definitely top 3 behind. I mean, up there with Arenado and Brian Hayes. No, I'm just kidding. Give him some time. But guys like Matt Olson, awesome first baseman, great in the middle lineup. Roman Loreno is honestly one of the most exciting center fielders in baseball, offensively and defensively. He, especially on the defensive side, he's probably the best. He got the whole package there with the arm and the speed. It's awesome watching him play out there and just track balls. But again, these are some of the reasons why Billy Bean is, and that's why they're there. Guys like Robbie Grossman, who started the Pirates organizations, bounced around, and now he's a key contributor on their team. Marcus Simeon is now like a standard in their lineup, but before he was there, he was other places also bouncing around, and he's put up some big numbers. Chris Davis is a guy that they acquired from the Brewers years ago. Again, standard in their lineup in recent years, probably past 4 or 5 years, and we talked about the numbers he's put up, the consistent 250 average, 40 home runs, 100 RBI guy. It's perfect in the American League, but you take those guys in their lineup, and I mean, the way, again, the scouting and everything is with this organization, they're built around their pitching. Their pitching's what's carrying them there, and their pitching's what I think needs to get them over the top. And we talk about this team being there every single year, but it seems to me that they don't ever get a chance to make some noise. And I think part of that is because of the way the format was, where they have one wild card, and the Astros were there. And the Astros won the division. This is recent years with that 1-game wild card, and they would make the playoffs. They get stuck in that,
Yeah.
and it's a one game plan. You need one guy to give you one start, and their luck hasn't been there most of the time. But now with the way the playoffs are, and I know this is kind of contradicting what I was saying last week about I don't want the format to change. I like this format for them this year because they get a 3-game series.
Yeah.
They get a chance to actually prove their worth, prove their depth, and prove that they just don't have one guy that's a whole collective team.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited for them in this coming fall classic.
I mean, after all these years, like after the past couple years where they've been able to do this, like at this point, should we be surprised anymore by the Athletics? I mean, I think the last 2 years, Dre, that we've been doing this with like the podcast and then the videos, each year we talk about the playoffs. It's like, yeah, like you never know what the Athletics are going to do, but like at this point, like should we be surprised anymore?
I think naturally we should be. I guess the casual baseball fan should be, because again, on the outside looking in, you look at this team, you see them in the bottom of the payroll, and you're like, how are they doing this? But like pure baseball guys like us should not be surprised anymore. Like I can no longer doubt this team, especially now with the Astros downfall and things like that, and the Angels not rising to the occasion. Like it's their division to lose every year.
Mm-hmm.
Until proven otherwise, and Seattle's trying, and Texas is just they're entering a rebuild phase. So we'll see what happens there. They're going to be out of it for the near future. But point is that with the A's, I mean, it's their division to lose now. I mean, they own that division, and it's pretty awesome to see. It really is, because again, it's a team that's always been there, always been in the hunt. They've either had the bad luck of the 1-game plan, they never won the division, or they just get dominated by the Yankees in the series, in the NLD or the ALDS. But I don't see that happening anymore with this team, especially now.
Okay. And then over in the NL, the Los Angeles Dodgers have clinched the top seed in the playoffs. We've talked about it multiple times this year, guys. All of us have the Dodgers in the World Series for the NL. They added Mookie Betts in the offseason. They have Cole Bellinger. They have this team of just talent all over the place. Brooksy, is this the year that the Dodgers finally break through and win a World Series? Is this the year, or is this another one where they're just going to go in as the top seed, they're going to get to the World Series, and they're going to lose to the AL?
I mean, I think it's similar to the thing where, like, how did the Athletics just keep putting teams together and making the playoffs with the lowest payroll in the league? In the same way, it's like, how over the course of the last 7-8 years, where the Dodgers are just the class of the NL, have they not won a championship? And I mean, I think their team is absolutely loaded, and in a lot of other years, there's a lot, like any other year with a normal playoff format, that plays to their hand more than this one does.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's big when you take into account no off days and what that means for staffs, because in the last several postseasons, you just see pitching staffs, especially what we saw with the Astros and their playoff runs, just putting out Verlander, Cole, Greinke.
Yeah.
The Nationals putting out Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and then your bullpen. But without off days, you're gonna have to throw another starter in there. You're gonna have to gas your bullpen a little bit more. So it sort of adds more randomness and variability to it than in past playoff series.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at this point, this format doesn't favor them, but they're still even more loaded than they've ever been.
Yeah.
So, it's tough to say where it could go from here. I mean, they're still the chalk team to do it, the most favorited one, but who knows what if it actually can carry through in the chaotic postseason that we're going to have after this weird season.
Yeah, I mean they have right now. In my eyes, they kind of have 4 pitchers that could go out and get the job done. I mean, they have Clayton Kershaw, Julio Urias. I don't know if I pronounced that last name right.
It's like Urias or Urias.
Yeah, and you still got to remember Walker Bueller.
Mm-hmm.
Bueller. And then they got Dustin May, who's like, I don't know if you guys have seen like the little social media clips from Dustin May this year, but like his pitches are absolutely filthy. They're like 99, 100 miles an hour with more movement than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's
like,
a 2-seam.
Yeah,
it's on Pitching Ninja every start.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. And so when you have 4 guys like that, I mean, I think we've talked about it in the past, but like I think the question has always been their bullpen and whether the bullpen can like lock it down at the end of games. I mean, they got Kenley Jensen back there, but the rest of it, I mean, I can't wait to see Joe Kelly again. I hope he does something even better than he did earlier this season when he threw at the Astros. I've always been a big fan of Joe Kelly. But
I feel like he's been suspended forever.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him since that incident.
I mean, he's only thrown 9 innings this year so far, and he's only been.
Oh, so he has been suspended forever.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think this is the year that they might get it done, but like, I don't know, guys. Right now, they're sitting against they're slated to play in the first round against the Reds. Like, should we be nervous about this first round matchup? I mean, we've talked about how good the Reds can be this year. They have the pitching staff to get it done. Trevor Bauer has been lights out all year long. Like, Dre, should we be worried about this first round matchup for them?
Yes.
Yeah.
They should be. Playing the Reds in the first round would be devastating to them. The Reds are the hottest team entering the playoffs right now, and there's no doubt about it. Trevor Bauer is making he's putting his grasp on the Cy Young. So there's the ace right there that you have to face. And, you know, if you're going to throw Kershaw out there, I love Kershaw, but Kershaw's not the same as he was 5 years ago. So there's that. And then there's also the fact that the Reds pitching depth is better than the Astros pitching depth. And yeah, Dustin May, Walker Bueller, I think is all world. I think next year is going to be the year where you really kind of, you know, puts his stamp in terms of jumping in the upper echelon of the National League with aces. But, you know, it's going to be him and Dustin May. And Dustin May, I mean, he's essentially a rookie. He hasn't started in the playoffs yet. I understand how good he is, but like, come playoff time, is he going to be that good? And this is the part that really sucks, because I would love to see guys like May and Bueller in the playoffs pitching with a crowd, with a baseball crowd, because a Major League Baseball playoff atmosphere, I think, is one of the most slept-on atmospheres in all of sports. A home field can be insane for somebody. I mean, you saw it here in Pittsburgh with Cueto briefly, but even last year with the Astros, and last year with the Nationals, I almost forgot who won the World Series there. Those atmospheres were insane. You know, I remember watching Game 7, the clinching game. I guess was it Game 7? I can't even wake up right now. Bottom line is that I remember watching that game where Howie Kendrick hit the home run, and you know, it was just nuts. It was going crazy, and all of a sudden it was just a dead crowd, and it was you could hear a pin drop. Like, every single person in the stadium is invested, and the fact that there's going to be no fans in these playoffs in this bubble kind of helps those young guys. But I mean, as far as the way the Reds are going right now, I mean, they're going to be hard to beat, so they better hope that someone else kind of supplants them so they don't have to play them in the first round. They get their bearings under them. I understand it's just, to them, it could be another series, but just like the Yankees, all the pressure is on them to succeed. And I know right now they're sitting on top in the National League, but the Reds are coming, and they're coming hard. And You know, they got a swagger to them. Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo is really good. Awesome slider, probably one of the best in baseball, Sonny Gray. So, and to top it off, outside of the rotation, the Reds definitely have a better bullpen than them too. So they went out and they got Archie Bradley, and he's really helped solidify their pin. Amir Garrett and Raziel Iglesias just locking it down. I think that if they play the Reds, the Dodgers could be in trouble. If they beat the Reds, they're going to the World Series.
Yeah, if any team can sort of follow the Nationals model last year, it's the Reds. So that's like a scary matchup. But who knows because now I think it's a little bit more of a logjam, especially in the NL Central, of where teams are gonna I think the Cubs have that division like almost clinched. But then underneath that, like who knows where those next three teams are gonna land and how many of them make the playoffs, who's gets second, and then who is the 7th or 8th seed in the wild card spot. So, but if there's a team that the Dodgers don't want to play, it's the Reds. They would much rather have
anyone else,
any other team there, especially the Marlins and Giants.
Yeah,
it's just. I mean, the Reds are 8-2 in their last 10, and they've done nothing but just make up ground and kind of put their stamp. And that's a team getting hot at the right time. And if history tells us anything, that's a team you never want to play. And not even just baseball, that's all of sports.
Mm-hmm.
As the last 3 games get played, do we see any teams kind of sneaking in? I mean, a couple of the teams that come to my mind just from looking at the standings, the Phillies, they have about a 50% chance of making the playoffs. They have a .49 win percentage, and then you have the Brewers, who are sitting at 51.7 with about a 50% chance of making the playoffs. Do we see either of these teams kind of sneaking in late? Maybe the Marlins choke at the end of the season in the last 3 games, or the Cardinals maybe drop out, or the Giants. Do we see any of these teams kind of sneaking in?
I guess if a team was going to sneak in, just looking at the schedules right now,
Yeah, I'm pulling that up.
I would say the Brewers would be the best bet.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because they got a chance to make up a lot of ground on the St. Louis Cardinals going into a 5-game series. Excuse me. I got the hiccups from my coffee there. Don't ask how it's possible, but it happened. But yeah, that's a team I think could sneak in because when you look at the Phillies and how they're constructed, they have the worst bullpen in baseball, and they can't sustain a lead. They would need their starters to kind of go deep in the games, which would essentially kind of screw them over. But they finish up with the Tampa Bay Rays. I understand the Rays. I don't think the Rays have anything left to play for. Maybe top seed because I know the Dodgers are the only one that has it. So the Rays have something to play for, and they're going to send out all of their big guns in order to do so, to lock that up. So they're in trouble right there. Cincinnati plays Minnesota. It's another tough series, and Minnesota has something to play for. But again, Cincinnati is one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Twins are also kind of in that mix in terms of being hot. So I wouldn't want to play them either, but that's going to be a series where I can see a split or, 2 out of 3. They're going to beat the hell out of each other. So I think they get in. The Marlins play the Yankees, so that kind of sucks. So I guess by default, I got to say I really have to see the Brewers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The Phillies are the team that it's like you can't believe just how bad the bullpen is and how many games that they've just lost in devastating fashion.
Yeah.
And because taking away the bullpen, like there's no reason that team shouldn't make the playoffs in an 8-team field, and it's just been like a disaster for them. And I think there's like very tough matchups that a lot of the like fringe teams have, and I think like the Giants, I just saw now that they play the Padres. They have 1 against the Rockies, then 4 against the Padres, so that's not exactly easy either. So it's just going to be a lot of moving around, but it's what we have. 1, 2, 3. So we essentially have, looking at like the odds on Fangraphs now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams with odds of making the playoffs between 73 and 49. So it's 5 teams going for 3 spots within those odds. And it'll be interesting to see how that changes as it develops, because what we have.
I think it's 2 days left, so it's today and then tomorrow.
Well, I think there's no. I think it goes longer than that.
It goes to Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Maybe I was looking at the wrong.
Because a team that I think could, I mean, a lot depends on this weekend, but
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they got an easy matchup. A team that we haven't talked about is the New York Mets. I mean,
Yep.
that's a team that if they end up sweeping the Nats, somehow when they got to go up against Scherzer and Corbin, in these first 2 games. But if they get ahead of them, I mean, they got DeGrom in Game 3, and if they can get, I would love to have DeGrom in Game 3 if they win their first 2 games. So, I mean, they need help, but we'll see what happens. The Mets have one of the best lineups in baseball, and
They got a 1.7% chance of making.
I know they got a they got a chance. They got a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance. There's a little bit of hope if you're a Mets fan, but you can't talk yourself into that if you're a Mets fan, because if you prop it up, you're only going to be let down even more.
Yeah, they almost have a better chance to get the second place finish in the NL East than they do the wild card, because the Marlins are exactly at 500, the Phillies are a game below 500, and the Mets, if they win out, they end 29 and 31.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a chance.
So you're saying
It's a
there's
slight chance.
You're saying there's a chance. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that the NL picture kind of plays out over the course of the next week, heading into Sunday, to see kind of how those matchups play out. I mean, obviously we've talked about the Dodgers probably don't want to see the Cincinnati Reds. They probably want to see someone else. There's a couple teams that could sneak in. Maybe the Marlins drop to the number 8 seed. I'm sure the Dodgers would love to see that. But just kind of switching back over to the AL, Dre, I know you've probably been itching at the bit to talk about this team a little bit, but your Tampa Bay Rays, they won the AL East. They clinched the AL East. You see that little smile? I saw the little smirk. They clinched the AL East last night. They still have a chance to clinch the number 1 team in the AL. You've been talking about it all year. I mean, how happy are you to see these guys at the top of the AL division right now?
I'm ecstatic. I'm absolutely ecstatic. I mean, out of all the small ball teams, out of all the small payroll teams, I mean, that's my favorite. I remember when they first came on the scene, back in 2007 with Evan Longoria and them, but they've been, they've slowly been building a powerhouse there, and it's clearly showing right now. You saw it kind of come to fruition last year, beginning of the year, but they kind of tailed off, and the Yankees just ran away with that division. But this year in a short season, I mean, said it before, I'll say it again, that's a team that I think out of anybody in the AL could beat the Yankees just because of the way they're constructed. But man, they are even exceeding my expectations. I mean, Tyler Glasnow looks like an absolute stud, and that hurts. That hurts to say, but he looks unhittable every time he steps on the mound. It's awesome that watching him succeed in a franchise that I can actually appreciate. So, not saying I don't appreciate the Pirates, but him going to the Rays and see him thrive there, I'm okay with it. To me, I think that's the favorite to win the AL pennant. I think that's the favorite to go to the World Series. I think they're the best in terms of. I think they're the most well-rounded in terms of their offense, their pitching, their bullpen. I don't see any weaknesses whatsoever there. And they're also innovative with guys like Kevin Cash and just the way that they get there. I mean, they were the first to introduce an opener. It's entirely planned, and we've seen it kind of go away, but they could bring it back and just throw a whole wrench into a series by doing so. That's a team that's on the chessboard. I mean, they're a queen. Like, they can do everything, and they will do everything in order to win the pennant. And I think that this is the year that they do it. I'm excited to see this team. I'm excited to see who they play. I kind of hope it's the Astros so they can just absolutely embarrass and dismantle that franchise once and for all. Why aren't we more excited about this? Is it because it's morning? Like, come on, guys. It's the Tampa Bay freaking Rays.
I've been waiting for
It's
you
the
to bring
Glasnow factor for me.
It just kind of sent you in a pit. I saw the pain in your face. I saw it.
It's just Shane Baz comes out of nowhere to close out Game 7 of the World Series.
That would hurt me, but again, I'd be very excited about it.
Yeah, I think just the not just that they won the division, but all season, maybe just excluding the first 7 games that the Yankees won 6 of or something, but all season the Rays have proven to be better than the Yankees. And who cares about injuries? Every team has these injuries, every team's missing this, but over the course of the season, the Rays proved to be the better team. And it's just top to bottom. I think it's exciting. I love watching Glasnow pitch despite my heartbreak. I love watching Charlie Morton pitch despite my heartbreak. So I think watching them in the playoffs will be really exciting. And it's a team that just doesn't have many gaps. And I think for where they're sitting in terms of their payroll and what they spend is absolutely incredible. So, you sort of have, that's a team that will be really hard to root against. So I'm hoping that they really make a run at it.
If it was anyone to win the AL East, I'm glad it was the Rays.
Not the Red Sox?
If it was
I think he
anyone.
kind of knew they weren't going to win. But he's glad the Yankees didn't, because they were the odds-on favorite to win by everybody, including us.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so they're pretty much every seed in the AL is locked up.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because, well, I won't say it's crazy. I feel like this happens every year in the American League, that we kind of know exactly who's going to be in the playoffs a week and a half early, whereas the NL is, I think it's just right around consistency in terms of historically. Where the AL is already locked in, and the NL is playing for, game 163.
Yeah.
Or whatever, I mean, obviously it's not going to happen this year, but it's not all locked in, which is kind of crazy. But to me, it's just been right on par.
I'm just excited to see that the Angels still have a shot.
Don't do that to me.
They have a 1.5% chance as of this morning, Dre. But they play I think they play a 3-game set. Dodgers. So I don't know.
Just when I was out, you pull me back in.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I'm just saying there's a shot. I'm just saying there's a chance.
I know what you're saying. You're saying there's a chance, and I don't want to do it. But I want to see it. We all deserve it.
Mike Trout could go off over the next 3 or 4 games, and
it's been going off all year. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Somehow the Mariners still have a 0.1% chance of making the playoffs. But I mean, the Dodgers play the Rangers. The Blue Jays are the only other team that haven't completely locked up their seed. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Because the Angels aren't going to get in the playoffs, but
do. I'm betting my house on them to win the World Series.
I just brought it up because I want to see Mike.
Because of Mike Trout.
Like,
just because of Mike Trout.
How do we not want to see Mike Trout in the playoffs? Like,
everybody does, except for the Angels organization.
If he's got a shot, like, there's a little bit of excitement. Like I just
How about the next season? The next season just never comes.
All right, guys. So the playoff picture is pretty much set. It'll play out over the next week. So next episode we could break down the bracket. We'll give our playoff predictions and things like that.
You pulled me in, and now I'm disappointed.
We'll give our postseason predictions again to see kind of where we stand. Next
Well,
episode.
also, we should also revisit our preseason predictions.
Yes, you beat me to the point. I was going to say that.
Sorry.
Next.
Didn't mean to rain on your parade, but
No.
that's for pulling me into the Angels, and then
All
seeing
right,
that the
all right.
Astros have to play the Texas Rangers 4 games.
All right, I'll give it to you. But there are a few other storylines just kind of around the league that I want to get your guys' take on, and I do want to get to the draft and things like that. But I want to talk about Justin Verlander first. He announced that he was getting Tommy John surgery, which I'm assuming will keep him out for the rest of next year, which leads to the end of he'll be a free agent after the 2021 season. Guys, he's like, let me look up his age real quick because he's got to be up there. He's getting towards the end of his career. Could this possibly be the end of Justin Verlander? Do we think he's going to be? Oh, he's not even on the roster anymore. What the fuck? I got
Already is the end of it.
I'm trying to find his profile. Could this be the end of? I mean, he's 37 right now. Could this be the end of his career? Could we see him past this year?
I'm gonna say yeah.
Wanted to hop on here and share some news.
There's Justin Verlander.
Wanted to share some news. It's muted.
Sorry, Justin. But he's been such a fixture in the game over the past. I don't even know how many years, but throughout his career. And so to kind of see a guy go out on the end, you always want to see a guy go out on his own terms. But coming back, it's tough to recover. He'll be probably 38, 39 by the time he comes back. Do we think he could be a contributor to a World Series team down the line?
I'm going to say yeah, but I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say which team he's going to sign with. I can see him getting a 1-year deal from the Detroit Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
Going back there, and I say that team because they have some pieces right now that they're a team that's in phase 2 of their rebuilding. They got Casey Mize, and then they got Torkelson last year in the draft, so they have cornerstone pieces in their franchise, and they got some pieces there, but they're still work in progress. You're going to see them try and trade guys like Matthew Boyd, maybe even Turnbull. I don't know what his service time looks like, but this team is going to be vastly different in the next 2 years. And I think that with the talent that they have, as long as it emerges the way that it should, Torkelson couldn't be, he's known for his bat. We'll see what his defense looks like, but he could be one of the best third basemen in baseball offensively. And Casey Mize has potential to be one of the best pitchers in baseball with his stuff. Bottom line is that if they're ready to compete and they need a back of the rotation guy, I can see them signing Verlander. And, I feel like there's a lot of teams out there who could take a flyer on him. I don't see him getting a ton of money. He's not going to get a $20 million deal. That's just asinine, but he could get a 1-year, $10 million deal because that's pocket change in baseball, and it's only a 1-year commitment. So I can see it happening. I don't think he's done. I think it's extremely unfortunate, him getting Tommy John, especially because, his career is winding down, but you kind of take away from that excitement of seeing how he performs as his career winds down. When he hit free agency, if he was playing, you can kind of gauge what he's worth. But now it's there's a lot more questions and answers, but it's it's just odd. It sucks. The timing of it sucks because, you know, wanted to see him just finish out his Hall of Fame career in such a way that was beneficial to him, but now he's got to fight through adversity, and it could be a different kind of chapter, like his comeback, because he's a guy that he dominated early in his career, and then he kind of tailed off with Detroit, and then when he went to Houston, his career was revitalized in such a way that made him a Hall of Famer. So, like a surefire Hall of Famer. So I'm curious to see how he bounces back. You don't really see late 30s guys get Tommy John, but I think he can get a deal.
Yeah. I think if there's anybody at his age that could do it, it's Verlander, because he, like, towards the end of his time in Detroit, he was like had these like nagging, injuries, like with his core and his arm. He was always like missing time here or there and just not his best self. And then since then, and how he's just like aged clichely like a fine wine, like he's very forward thinking about his body and like in touch with his body. Like that's how he has almost like gotten better as he's gotten older.
Yeah.
So I think if anybody's in a position to do it, it's him. And I love your prediction, Dre, of him going back to the Tigers. That would be interesting.
I think it'd be poetic, but it depends where that franchise is in. I just feel like that's where he can go and kind of end his career, because that's where he started. But outside of that, I think that any team is going to take a flyer on him as a back of the rotation guy.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought you were gonna say the Yankees, and I was gonna be really upset with you because I don't want to see him in the AL East.
I just can't see him going to the Yankees. They'll be involved. Obviously, they're involved in anyone, but I just can't see it happening.
I mean, he's had such a storied career. So you'd want to see him go. Like I would like to see him go out on top somewhere. I mean, I just don't want to see him like go out and get shelled in his final season. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You don't like to see guys go out like that.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm kind of taken back right now just because I was looking at like, his resume, as I said, Hall of Fame. I kind of took myself down a wormhole. We completely miss this. And when I mean I honestly think everybody misses. But Justin Verlander has over 3,000 strikeouts now.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see that milestone. I didn't see anybody kind of celebrate it. Like,
didn't it happen last year? I thought it happened last year.
I mean, he's only at 3,013, so I don't know. Maybe I missed it, but I felt like it happened this year. But what do I know? It's just I'm just kind of shocked, I guess.
Yeah,
I know he was close, but I didn't know how close he was. I thought that he still had a ways to go because
it happened in September of last year.
Huh? Yeah, I missed it completely.
I think we talked about it on the podcast last year.
Maybe that was a year ago, so maybe I'm just an idiot. But yeah, I'm just glad to see that he has that milestone, I guess, because I was worried about it. I knew that was one of the few ones he had to lock in for his Hall of Fame career resume. The fact he got it is nice, and I figured with Tommy John it would take away that pursuit, but the fact he has it, good for the resume.
So there is a big pitcher that we need to talk about, and his name is Kumar Rocker. As Pirates fans, I see the smiles on your faces.
Shouldn't be.
So, guys, as the season winds down, it looks like the Pirates are going to get the number 1 pick.
Are you sure about that? They keep winning games.
They're on a 2-game win streak.
It is pissing me off.
Yeah, they are below the Rangers in winning percentage right now, and
by 2 games,
and in wins. So yeah, I would think so. Like, you would think that the Pirates wouldn't want to go out and win any more games.
I'm more stressed about this than I am about the freaking like the wild card game. Like this could potentially decide the fate of our franchise in the next 10 years. I'm not exaggerating about that at all. It is I think it's that dramatic of a drop off. And Rocker's here, Leiter's here, but then there's like from here, and I don't see them getting a three. But the bottom line is that they need to stop winning games. They honestly have to. The saving grace is that they get the Indians, but I mean, come on, guys. I don't get it.
They're calling up Neverauskas and Miguel Del Pozo. They're bringing in the guys that, they need to lose the last few games. They got to get it.
And the irony in this is that they're winning games because of Brian Hayes.
Yeah. It's just like, damn it, but he's good.
It's like, I want to be so upset about it, but I can't because it's like this. Honestly, and I say this, he is the one. He's the first person that I've seen in a Pirates uniform that could potentially supplant my love for Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, that's big praise. That's big praise.
It's huge praise. Like in terms of him reviving this franchise, he could be that player.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Kutch is always going to have a spot here. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, he's the one. It's like he's shown me enough that I legitimately could be like head over heels for this kid. I mean, he's the whole package.
Right, you sound like you're gonna get down on a knee and like pull out
Relax.
a red.
Girlfriend would be pissed. But I've been married to this team since I came out the womb, anyways. So.
And I mean, at the end of it, like I'm not gonna even go there because I want Kumar Rocker, but there's a pretty name also sitting projected another spot behind Kumar Rocker, but I'm not going to go there yet because I just want Kumar Rocker very badly. So that's where I'll be scoreboard watching this weekend.
So as Pirates fans, like, what do you guys do? Like, how do you handle this situation? Like,
I've been doing.
Do you root for the opposing team?
I know how I'm
you root for like what we're getting with Brian Hayes, but like when it comes to it, you want to see like younger players develop like promise. Like that was a really cool catch that Brian Reynolds had the other day, if anyone saw it. But like you want to see that stuff, but you're not like it's one of the worst teams in like franchise history. So like we're not like that has been decided. So at this point, you just want to see development. And at the end of the day, it helps knowing that there could be a huge piece being added. So I haven't been watching for wins and losses. I've just been watching for things like, oh, wow, like Brian Hayes is fascinating to watch. Or, oh, yeah, like Brian Reynolds continues to do it. So for me, I'm past the wins and losses at this point. That's just my way of coping.
Well, wins and losses is something I'm always focused on, but for me, I want to see the players succeed, but I also want to see them lose because I know what's there at the end of the tunnel with all the losses. So kind of combining Brooksy and Mine's point, I guess. But they're winning games and their players are succeeding, and it's just too close for comfort. So, but the future does look bright. All I'm saying is that we can spend a lot of time talking about the future of this team. They got a lot of talent in the lower levels in pitching, especially adding a guy like Kumar Rocker, because that's one thing that they don't have is a guy who's a top of the rotation, legitimate ace in this league. Kumar Rocker is that. I said it before. I'll say it again. He's a guy that you could put on this team, not on this team now, but no, I'll say it. He's a guy you can put on this team now, and he's going to be their best pitcher. Talent-wise, no doubt about it. And he's a guy that you can put on the Dodgers, and he's going to be in their starting rotation. Like, he's that good.
High praise. It's high
It
praise.
is, but it's 100% facts.
I mean, how often do you see a guy come out of college and he's immediately ready for life at the big league level? Like, I think the last guy we saw maybe Strasburg coming out of San Diego State, like, who was like immediately ready to pitch at the major league level.
Yeah, I could say Strasburg. I feel like you can make an argument for Garrett Cole,
Yeah.
but that's more because of his success, I guess, long term as opposed to Strasburg's. Where
Mhm.
Strasburg's kind of, I feel like I don't want to call him a bust, but I feel like he didn't live up to the expectations of where he came out. Like I expect him to be the top of the league.
Yeah, I mean, he was set like everyone made him seem like he was. I mean, I think he's maybe like a top 10, top 15 pitcher in the league.
Yeah, I
But like
mean,
everyone made him when he was coming out of the draft. Everyone made him seem like he was the next Cy Young.
yeah, and he hasn't won one. I mean, he's been the second best pitcher on his team for years now,
Hmm.
because Scherzer has just been that much better.
Yeah.
But the whole point regarding Strasburg is that the expectation was he was going to win multiple Cy Youngs. He was going to be the best pitcher of the decade. He was going to be the front of the rotation starter. He is a front of the rotation starter, but he's not the guy
Yeah.
on that team. So, I mean, I guess you can consider him a disappointment, but he panned out. And, it's like when the expectation's so high and don't meet up to it, you don't live up to it. Then
Hmm.
to me, I don't want to call you a bust because Deke will be like, he's no bust. Like, he's not a bust. He's just disappointing. Like, there's a difference.
I think he just gets overshadowed a little bit too, like by Scherzer. I mean, when you have that much high expectations, like I think he's just gotten overshadowed a little bit. He's dealt with some injuries and stuff like that. I think he just got I mean, he's been like he hasn't. I mean, he hasn't been. I don't think he's lived up to the expectations because the expectations were ridiculously high for him.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think he's always been like one of those top guys. Where if I mean, he'd probably be he'd probably be a number one starter on most teams in the league.
Yeah, and it's the same argument that you have with Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Bryce
Mm-hmm.
Harper is kind of the same, cut from the same cloth, and that's out of both. Bryce
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James of baseball, and then here comes Mike Trout, just completely taking that torch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that Bryce Harper's a bust; it's that he didn't live up to those expectations set on him, which is just a different argument altogether.
Are the expectations even higher for Rocker coming out of college than they were for Strasburg?
I'm gonna say no, and I'm only gonna say no because of the product, that we kind of the environment that we live in right now.
Yeah.
Like, what he hasn't had a chance to pitch this year. Like, if he had a chance to pitch, then I would say yes. We're basing this hype solely off of a season ago where he threw a no hitter in the super regionals, but he just led the Vanderbilt Commodores. He led the rotation and he did it in dominant fashion. And seeing the stuff is just awesome. But I mean, he hasn't without seeing him kind of in that atmosphere this year. It's kind of hard to say, well, the expectations are up there with Strasburg. I can't do it for that fact. But I will say that in terms of the talent, I mean, it's 100%. I mean, there's an argument to be had that I'll say Cole, but Strasburg's a good one too. Like, since those two guys, like, I haven't seen a pitcher like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it should be interesting to see kind of how it plays out. I wish you guys as Pirates fans the best of luck. I hope you get the number one pick. I think that's all we have for today, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about here. We close out episode 29, the Trevor Bauer episode. The Trevor Bauer episode. He's 29, isn't he?
I don't know. I said Kevin Correa. He's the first one that popped into my mind.
You also forgot Mike Trout.
It was football.
We were overshadowed by football coming back. It was a lot happening, a lot of emotions.
Oh,
I
no.
feel like it's an easy mistake.
Bauer 27. Okay.
Wow, we forgot Trevor Bauer.
Trevor Bauer. You forgot Trevor Bauer. All right, guys. Well, given that, end of episode 29. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Heart of the Order, brought to you by thoughtsfromthebench.com. We'll see you next week. Deuces.